Have you ever wondered how a simple metal container could help decide the outcome of a global war? Not a tank, not a fighter plane, not a powerful weapon, just a fuel can. But what if I told you that thousands of soldiers' lives, entire military operations, and even the speed of the Allied advance in Europe depended on this one small object? Why did American gasoline disappear into the desert sand during World War II? Why were Allied soldiers fighting each other just to capture German fuel cans? And how did a design created in Nazi Germany end up helping defeat Germany itself? This is the incredible story of the jerry can, a simple invention with brilliant engineering details that changed the way modern armies fight. A story of innovation, of arrogance, and of a mistake that cost the Allies years of lost fuel, lost opportunities, and possibly thousands of lives, because sometimes the most important weapon in war is the one nobody notices. Let's go back to the deserts of North Africa in 1942, where a U.S. Navy officer discovered a shocking problem. September 1942, North Africa. The desert sun was already brutal. Temperatures climbed past 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Heat waves shimmered across the sand, and the air smelled strongly of gasoline. U.S. Navy Commander Richard Daniel stood beside a supply depot, watching something shocking happen. American gasoline was leaking into the desert. Hundreds of fuel cans were stacked nearby. Containers shipped thousands of miles from the United States, across submarine-infested oceans, through ports, trains, and desert convoys, all to fuel Allied tanks in North Africa. But instead of powering tanks, the gasoline was disappearing. The cans were splitting open in the heat, their seams cracking, their caps corroded, fuel slowly dripping into the sand. Daniel picked one up. Gasoline ran down his hand. The cap was jammed. He needed a wrench just to open it. After several days of inspection, Daniel reached a disturbing conclusion. Nearly 40% of the fuel was being lost before reaching the battlefield. American fuel, American ships, American money, all vanishing into desert sand. But something nearby made the situation even worse. Only 20 feet away sat another stack of fuel containers, captured German cans, and they were perfect. Not a single leak, not a single swollen seam. Daniel picked one up. It felt heavier, stronger, built to survive war. He flipped a small lever on top. The cap opened instantly. No wrench, no struggle. Fuel poured out smoothly in seconds. Daniel closed the lever again. Perfect seal. Standing in the desert sun, he held the two cans side by side. One American, one German. One worked flawlessly. The other was a disaster, and the United States had been using the disaster for years. What Daniel had discovered was one of the most surprising engineering failures of World War II, because the superior container had been invented years earlier. In Germany, during the mid-1930s, Germany prepared for mechanized warfare. Military planners realized something critical. Tanks are useless without fuel, and fuel is useless without reliable containers. So German engineers began designing a new solution. The task went to an engineer named Vinzenz Grunvogel, and he approached the problem differently. He didn't just design a container. He studied soldiers, how they carried equipment, how they poured fuel, how they worked under fire. The result was brilliant. A steel container holding 20 liters of fuel, with a reinforced body, 3 handles for easy carrying, a cam lever cap for instant opening, and a vent tube for smooth pouring. It could be opened in seconds, even in darkness, even under fire. It was strong, reliable, and nearly impossible to break. German soldiers called it the Einheitskanister, but Allied troops gave it another name, the jerry can. Ironically, America had already seen this design. An American engineer named Paul Pleiss brought knowledge of it home in 1939. He even delivered a sample to U.S. military officials. But the response was disappointing. The War Department believed its own containers were good enough. Engineers tried to redesign the German can, but they misunderstood it. They copied the shape and ignored the function. The cam lever disappeared. The vent tube vanished. Cheap seams replaced strong welds. The result looked similar, but worked far worse. Meanwhile, the British made a different choice. They simply copied the German design exactly. By 1943, millions of jerry cans were in service, and they worked perfectly. When Commander Daniel sent his report from Egypt, Washington finally listened. The United States abandoned its flawed design and adopted the proven jerry can, just in time for the biggest invasion in history. June 6, 1944, D-Day. More than 150,000 Allied troops landed in Normandy. Behind them came the supplies: food, ammunition, and fuel. Lots of fuel. General George Patton's Third Army raced across France, his tanks moving faster than supply lines could keep up. Every day, they burned 800,000 gallons of gasoline. To keep them moving, the Allies created a massive supply system, the Red Ball Express. Thousands of trucks driving nonstop across France. Most drivers were African American soldiers. They drove day and night, often without headlights, through dust, rain, and enemy aircraft attacks. And inside their trucks were thousands of jerry cans, each one carrying the fuel of victory. By the end of the war, more than 21 million jerry cans were scattered across Europe. The container designed for German conquest was now fueling Germany's defeat. Today, the jerry can still exists. Its design barely changed in nearly 90 years. A simple object, often overlooked, yet essential to modern warfare. Because in war, every detail matters. Without fuel, tanks don't move. Without moving tanks, armies cannot advance. And sometimes, the difference between victory and defeat is something as simple as a fuel can, a quiet invention that helped change the course of history.